Hello, so this is the video lecture for our pancreas, and if you want to follow along, you can go to the website in the description and either go to the associated slideshow or you can print out a 3D model of this yourself. So, to begin, I want you guys to place your left hand over the right side of your stomach, near the bottom, right above your navel. That is around where the pancreas is, and it's around 6 inches long, about the length of your hand. It's one of the only organs that are part of two systems. They're part of the digestive and the endocrine system, which is what makes it especially unique. And from this view, you can see a little bit more detail of where it is situated. So the pancreas is made up of four main sections. It's made of the head, the neck, the body, and the tail. And the head is near the duodenum right here, the first part of the small intestine, and then tail is right here near the spleen and the right kidney, which is actually behind here. Now, we are all made of functional units, which is the smallest unit that helps us function, right? And for us, our body, it's a cell. And just like our body, the pancreas has these functional units, which are called acini, or acinus for singular, which are just clusters of acinar cells. And this is for specifically the digestive function. So the acini is basically the smallest unit of the pancreas that is able to help with digestion. And these cells synthesize, store, and secrete digestive enzymes into the pancreatic duct. But the interesting thing is that these enzymes that are released are inactive initially, and they're called zymogens. And so, wait, why would they be inactive? And it's basically to prevent them from digesting the pancreas itself. And the enzymes, these digestive enzymes, are only activated in the lining of the duodenum when it's needed during digestion. And another cell, which is called the ductal cell down here, releases bicarbonates. And the reason why bicarbonates are important for digestion is it's basically a base. And if you remember that if our stomach is acidic, it makes sense that the bicarbonate would help neutralize the acid in the digestive tract. And for the digestive function of the pancreas, it's able to produce around 1.5 to 3 liters of pancreatic juices per day. And the main three enzymes that are produced by the pancreas are protease for proteins, amylase for carbohydrates, and lipase for lipid digestion. And remember how I mentioned that the pancreas actually has two functions? So this is the functional unit for the endocrine function. So the isolates of Langerhans are basically clusters of endocrine cells. So endocrine cells are cells that release hormones within the body, within the pancreas that are crucial for regulating blood sugar. So they can produce hormones like insulin, which is from beta cells, glucagon from alpha cells to help manage the glucose levels in the body. F cells are found near the head of the pancreas, so the part near to the duodenum, because it directly produces these pancreatic polypeptides that help slow down digestion. And the delta cells are similar to as somatostatin, or it's a growth hormone inhibiting hormone, or GHIH, slows down endocrine functions in general. And finally, the capillaries throughout the isolates of Langerhans are used to transport the hormones throughout the body. Now, this is pretty interesting part is we can look at the pancreas being involved with homeostasis, right? So if our body realizes that we have low blood sugar, the pancreas will actually release the glucagon, which tells the body to release the stored glucose, which in turn increases the blood in our body, the blood sugar. Now, similarly, if there's high blood sugar, so there's too much sugar in our blood, our pancreas releases insulin, which tells our skeletal muscles to absorb the excess glucose that is just circulating around in our circulatory system, which in turn lowers the blood sugar in general. And that's how pancreatic enzymes sort of help us regulate our body and help maintain homeostasis. And now that we're back here in the overview, we can understand a bit more of what's going on, right? So the acinar cells down here are a part of the digestive system, and they secrete these digestive enzymes into the duodenum over here through the pancreatic duct. So that's this whole large duct that sort of goes throughout the rest of the pancreas. And the pancreatic islets, as you can see over here, or islets of Langerhans, help secrete hormones like insulin and glucagon to help maintain homeostasis within our body. Now, we've sort of covered the anatomy and sort of the physiology of the pancreas, right? And now I wanted to show you the connection between the anatomy and physiology and into pathology, which is sort of diseases, right? So what happens when the functions of this organ goes wrong? And one of the most common ones are diabetes mellitus, or most commonly known diabetes. And there are two types of diabetes. There's type 1 and there's type 2. Type 1 diabetes is a chronic autoimmune condition where your immune system attacks the beta cells, preventing the production of insulin, which, if you remember, creates what protein? Yeah, insulin. So, insulin is what helps reduce the blood sugar levels in our body. And eventually, what is needed is insulin therapy. So the injection of excess insulin through outside means. So when our body isn't able to produce it as much, we need to take it from some outside source. And in order to understand when you need to do insulin therapy, people with type 1 diabetes often have to consistently measure their blood glucose levels. And the type 2 is pretty similar because it results in high blood sugar levels, but instead of it being because the beta cells are damaged, it's because the body is insulin resistant and it produces less insulin in general. And this is typically solved through lifestyle changes, either eating healthier or working out more. But another common drug is metformin because it helps lower the glucose creation and increases the effectiveness of insulin in our body. So the symptoms are fairly similar for both of them. You can remember them through the four T's. So it's toilet or going to the restroom very often, thirsty, tired, and thinner. And this is sort of the first level of symptoms, but eventually, if the insulin is not managed for way too long, you can lead to diabetic ketoacidosis, which is just what happens when there's a buildup of ketones due to high levels of glucose in our bloodstreams, or because the insulin isn't really there to help absorb it or control the levels of there, which and because there is less glucose in the cells to be used for energy, and it's in the bloodstream instead of the cells, the fat is being used for energy instead, which leads to a buildup of acids or ketones in our bloodstream, which can cause a bunch of unpleasant symptoms to say the very least. Okay, thank you.